Arsenal take on Forest, and the big question is it over if Arsenal don't win? Thankfully, I don't have to answer that question. Kweku, you can get clipped.
Yes, it is. And it will only be 12 games. But we've seen Arsenal this season. They haven't been impressive in terms of performances. At the beginning of the season, they were getting results. Recently, they haven't been getting results. But if they lose, it'll be a third league game, right? Before Christmas, I do think it's over. I look at the strength of Liverpool. I look at Man City, who will inevitably kick back into gear. And Arsenal know now that between now and maybe the beginning of January, mid-January, they have to be almost faultless, and I just don't know if they can do it. This is an Arsenal team that really surprised me, man, because I feel like I fall into trap every single season. I said, this is the year that Arsenal are going to do it, because they've got some really good players, and I think Arteta's a decent enough manager, but they can't seem to get it together. And what will really affect Arsenal fans and the Arsenal squad is that if they don't win the league this year and Liverpool win ahead of them, then where are you? Where are you at really? With Pep signing a new contract, with Arteta in, I don't know what phase this is of his process. Arsenal is now or never really, and this game against Forest is a must win, and it's the Forest side that are very good. So tough test for Arsenal at the Emirates, and a game that I think they have to win.
The one thing I would say, I'm sort of slightly inclined to agree with you, but I do think that this season will be a bit of a strange one. I think the points tally will be very low. I think Liverpool will slip up at some point. We know that City aren't the side that they are last year. One thing I would say, though, about Arsenal is we always talk about this period that Manchester City have after Christmas. Well, 2 years ago, Arsenal put through almost the exact same period, where I think they won every single of the last 16 games apart from one, and that was the one that made them not lose, that made them not win the title. So there's no reason that they can't do that again, especially now they've got Martin Odegaard back, who probably is their best player. I think we discussed it at the beginning of the season. He's probably their most important player. They've got him back now, which means they can probably play in a slightly different manner that they have been playing. I know I got slated for saying they were boring. Since then, they've dropped quite a lot of points and been quite boring.
Why are you smiling?
But I'm not. No, I'm just.
Why are you smiling?
No, I'm just saying things happen, don't they? Some people say things and then they happen. But but no, I do expect Arsenal to pick it up, and I do think that like even if they lose and they're 12 points off Liverpool come the end of the weekend, it's only 4 games. Stranger things have happened. Liverpool have been great, but injury to Van Dijk and injury to Salah could completely derail their season. And as I mentioned, City haven't been that great either. So I don't think it's the end for Arsenal if they don't win, but they do really need to start performing.
I don't want to lean on injuries too much and just say it's purely because of injuries that they're not quite there. Because I think if you look at certain games, certainly like the Newcastle game, I wanted to look more at the idea. And a lot of the times when I watched them against Newcastle, I thought like this team can't win unless something happens exactly as they planned. And I think that becomes a problem in the Premier League. And against Forest, we watched that Liverpool-Forest game together. I felt like Liverpool did everything that was there to be planned, and then Callum Hudson-Odoi scores an outrageous goal. Forest are like the opposite of what Arsenal are. Like they have a plan that waits for something to happen effectively. Do you think that's a problem for Arsenal? Like this almost like little bit of rigidness.
Yeah, I definitely do. It feels like it's Saka or set pieces for Arsenal. You give it to him and pray on the right wing, and then with Saka as well, you see it. Last year, what really impressed me with Saka is that he could go either way on the left or the right, and he try and beat his man. He finish it with his right foot. I remember some really good finishes. This year, because they are playing for set pieces, because they're so dangerous from them, sometimes I see him play for a corner when he's out on the right-hand side. And I just think that their games become too segmented. It's not as fluid. And so when Chelsea played against Arsenal before the international break at Stamford Bridge, I was there watching it, and there was no real flow to the game. It was like, I don't want to say dark arts because everybody engages in it, but Arsenal are very much a team that engages in things that slow the game down as opposed to increasing the pace of the game, which made them really good over the last couple of seasons. Martin Odegaard is key for him. And I think that him out, we can't ignore the fact that he is probably their most important player going forward. He connects everything together. He brings that balance in the centre of the park, and he also finds the men in the final third. So him being back is huge for them. In the second half against Chelsea, he was absolutely amazing. But for Arsenal, I think that where the season went wrong was before the season even started, it was the transfer window. When you're trying to go and catch the greatest team we've ever seen in Premier League history, bringing in Calafiori, fair enough, good Euros, good player, but you've got an abundance of centre-backs already. And then you bring in Marino and Raheem Sterling, who we haven't really seen since the Bournemouth game. I don't think that's the transfer window that suggests you're trying to push for the league. Arsenal's biggest issue for the longest time, I think, is that they haven't got an out-and-out striker. Kai Havertz has done a good job as that kind of faux or false number 9. But in a game against Newcastle, for example, you saw what an out-and-out striker can do. That cross from Anthony Gordon, bang, Isak's in the box, puts the ball away, and they win that game. Arsenal haven't got that, and it's goals by committee. I don't know if you can win the Premier League title by doing that.
I think in terms of what you just said there, I think the thing that stands out for me is that they're just quite stodgy to watch.
Yes, it's like porridge.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm kind of like when I've watched City over the years or challengers, whether that's Liverpool or whoever it may be, whoever they take on, they take the game to them.
Yeah.
And I feel like Arsenal, even the Newcastle game, even when Newcastle led, Arsenal was still waiting for Newcastle to fall into a trap. And I think if you want to be the best team in the league or you want to win a title, especially against City, and you can definitely speak on this better than me, you've got to be like a threat to everyone and to City to ever have a chance of coming close.
Well, the one thing I found really interesting is you talk about that stodginess, but they weren't like that last season. And I understand that the mark of a great manager is being able to adapt to certain situations or adapting to the players that you have. But I don't think I can remember a side doing so well in a league and then the next year pretty much ripping up the tactic book and starting a new style of play. I know that they're focusing on what worked last year, which was the sort of slowing down of the play, the crosses into the box, the set pieces and stuff. But to me, they really do seem like a very different side from last year. That might be because Martin Odegaard's been out. But I don't know if that's particularly good management. The way that they've shifted, it obviously isn't working that well. And I can't remember seeing it that much from teams before.
You could maybe look at the fixtures run as well.
Yeah.
To be fair, they've had a horrible fixture run. They've played Liverpool, City, Chelsea, definitely in their first games of the Premier League. Newcastle as well, so that's 4 of Spurs as well. So that's 5 of 12 games that have been. And now Forest are obviously right up there, so it's a really tough run. And I think Arsenal fans will watch us and say, like, got a Liverpool fan, a Chelsea fan, and a City fan. Obviously, we're going to get no sympathy.
Yeah.
You got to give a little bit of sympathy.
But in the games that were supposed to be easy for Arsenal in this very difficult start to the season, Bournemouth away lost. In the Leicester game, they were 2-0 up, made it more difficult for themselves. They obviously conceded 2 goals and 1 last minute. And in the Southampton game, they went 1-0 down. So in the games that were supposed to be easy for them, they made it physically taxing. And then when you've got that accompanied with other difficult games, it's going to be hard for you as an Arsenal team that are trying to win their first title in 20 years. I understand Arsenal fans feeling aggrieved because the media do get on Arsenal. And that's the one thing that I will say about Arsenal. There's more noise around their fixtures than any other team. When Liverpool lost against Nottingham Forest, fair enough, it was a big result, but I don't remember as much noise about that game when Arsenal dropped points against Brighton. And some of that noise is from Arsenal fans, but a lot of that noise is from the media as well. There is something about Arsenal, because they are maybe at the beginning of the season, the team that you felt had to win the league. If City don't win it, it's fine. You won 4 in a row. No one expected Liverpool to win it. This was supposed to be Arsenal's year. So every time they drop
isn't
points...
that normal? Like,
no, it's
if
not.
you want to compete, you're going to get pressure like that.
Nah, I think the noise that surrounds Arsenal and Man United is slightly abnormal. It's amplified because of the history of the clubs in the Premier League, because of the fan bases that do add to the noise, and because we get more clicks when we talk about Arsenal, Man United. We're being honest about it. And so there is a lot more pressure on every single one of the games. Every game of theirs feels like do or die. Even at the beginning of the season, drop points against Brighton. Oh my goodness, can Arsenal win the league? It's like, well, yeah, we're only 4 games into it.
The thing is, I completely agree with you. I think Arsenal do get a pretty harsh rep in the media. As you mentioned, we get more clicks if you speak badly about Arsenal. That's just the way it works. What I would say is over the last 2 seasons, that's been one of their strongest points.
Yeah.
The fact that they've had to be so defensive, the fact that Mikel Arteta has managed to unify the fans and the players. Because I remember going to the Emirates 5 years ago, I think it was, City won 3-0. I think there was like 15 people there apart from the City end. And now what Arteta's done over the last sort of 5 years is he's brought everyone back together, and he's done that because Arsenal get a harsh rep in the media, and he's been able to like put his backs against the walls. I just wonder, do you think there's an element of him being a little bit scared? I know we were just talking about it off camera, you saying he just needs to go after it. Yeah. He doesn't seem to be setting his sides to go up with a mentality of, we're going to smash these today. Yeah. This is Leicester, they're 18th in the league. We've got them at home. We're going to smash them.
I think he plays, he manages football a little bit like he used to play. So I honestly only really remember his Everton days, and that's when I think he had some of his best years. And I think he was one of these midfielders that would take less risk, even if he had the ability to take a risk. And I think that's purely from the fact that he looks at this team when it comes to management and says, like, if Saka's not on it, do I trust Martinelli? He doesn't. Do I trust Havertz? Just about trust him. Do I trust anyone else? No. But the bit he does trust is that back four on the system. And I think he falls on that. And I think some managers will go, if I can build something where we're really difficult to beat, and I still think they're really difficult to beat, then we might be fine. But I think in the Premier League, you have to be more unique than that. And you have to go, I want to beat everyone to win the league. You want to win 38 out of 38 if you can.
Well, I think that stems from the fact that last season they got very good results away from home at City, and I say very good results. They didn't win those games, but they got good results at Anfield and at the Etihad by playing that way, and that's bled into their general play this season. And like you say, you've got to be on the front foot if you want to win the Premier League. There's not too many back-footed teams that win this league title, and Arsenal need to also consider the threat of Nottingham Forest, because Nottingham Forest's strength, in my opinion, is their defence. Well, obviously, we know about the goals of Chris Wood. He's amazing. Love him. But Murillo is one of the best centre-backs in the league this year.
Yeah.
Formed a really good partnership with Milenkovic. Ola Aina, in my opinion, has been the best right-back in the Premier League this season. And
You love him.
He's great.
He's good.
great.
He's a good player.
And so Arsenal, where they haven't got that potency up front, and Kai Havertz does drop deep and is a bit more ethereal in the way that he plays, I think they're going to struggle to score. I think it's going to be set pieces and Saka yet again, because we haven't seen from Arsenal over the first 11 games of the season that they can create ample opportunities from open play.
All right, score predictions. On that Nottingham Forest point, I'll go first. Forest have conceded the second least XG in the entire league with 11.2, and it is because that back four has been so good. But I think this game suits Arsenal. I think Forest normally want the opposition to have loads of the ball. They'll sit in, hit them on the counter. But Arsenal also don't want loads of the ball. They've actually had a lot of possession this season, but in meaningful territory, they don't actually have possession. So I think the possession will change hands a little bit and invite Forest into the game. And I think Arsenal will win 2-0.
Yeah, I think just on Forest, I think they've been unbelievable this season. I'll be the first to hold my hands up and say I was really surprised when Nuno came in, and I was a little bit scathing of him because of what a good job Steve Cooper had done. But I mean, look at him now; they're absolutely flying. They've got some fantastic players playing great football. I don't think this is a game that they'll win. In the same sort of breath as the game against Newcastle last week, I think Arsenal will just be a little bit too strong for them, and I think the same scoreline. I think 3-1 to Arsenal.
I think 2-1 Arsenal. This is a game they have to win, and I think they will win it.
All right, who's going to win the Edu Derby? Let us know in the comments below.